we've heard a lot over the course of the pandemic about following the science, following the data, and anything that takes this much science and this much research and this much analysis. Data is so important, and having the right people analyzing that data is also important. Joining us now on the MegaCast, we're joined by Dr. Vijay Sagamoran. He is a professor, a distinguished professor of Management Information Systems, the chair of the Department of Decision and Information Sciences, co-director for the Center for Data Science and Big Data Analytics at the School of Business Administration for Oakland University. And Dr. Sagamoran, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you and your audience about data science, machine learning, and whatever topics that comes up.
Yeah, really important topic as we've gone through the pandemic, and so much research has gone in to dealing with COVID-19, whether it be how effective masks are, what mandates should be in place, what rules should be in place, distancing and how that affects the spread of COVID-19. Certainly it's gone into vaccination research, and it's definitely gone into tracking the numbers. How much more important, just in a broad sense, both with COVID-19, as I've already said, but across the board in our life, has data analytics become in recent years?
Yes, exactly. So I'm sure people have heard a lot of commercials and big push about AI being applied to many different disciplines. And so, when AI started, it was mostly sort of computer science-y kind of focus, but now the technology has gotten so much better, and it's also sort of permeating in our day-to-day lives. Like, as you mentioned, there's a lot of research that has gone on in looking at the data related to the pandemic. How do we use tools and technologies to kind of mitigate this specific problem at hand right now. But then, people have worked on research and applications of AI over, many decades. And so, but right now, it is getting popular. We are hearing about it because there's a lot of data that we generate. And so all of this data needs to be analyzed so that we can gain some competitive advantage or something useful from all of this data. And also businesses are looking to kind of analyze their products, reviews, market segmentation. You think of anything, there's always data. And so now we have the ability to not only collect, store, and manage this large volume of data, but also do something useful with it, get some benefit out of it. And so computing has gotten much cheaper. Algorithms are getting, much faster and more efficient. And so now we have tools and products that could be used by even a novice. It doesn't take a PhD or a master's degree now to be able to do some of these things. I mean, obviously you need to know some of the background in terms of math and, what happens under the hood, but you really, don't need a lot of that, just enough so that you can actually do something useful, fairly quickly, right? And so that's why it's getting very popular these days.
Yeah, with the power of machinery being so much more compact, so much more easily accessible across the board, we were able to have, like you said, computers that can put complicated algorithms at play and really analyze data beyond the capacity, not necessarily beyond the capacity of a human, but at a greater speed and efficiency with some human support. And with that, Oakland University is now offering a new certificate program that helps with that. It's a new certificate program in data analytics and machine learning. Let's start with machine learning. What exactly is that, and how is it being utilized across different industries and different sectors of our everyday life?
Right. Yeah, so, there's a lot of terminology, buzzwords that go around, and so maybe, it does make sense to kind of spend a minute or so talking about, what these terms and phrases mean. So obviously, machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. So let's start at the top. So AI basically is the catch-all kind of a phrase that people use where we are trying to kind of imitate what a human does to the extent possible, right? And so that's broadly speaking what AI is all about. But so AI has lots of sub areas, and so computer vision, machine learning, speech, text analytics, and so on and so forth, right? So there are a lot of sub areas within AI, but the bottom line is, can we build tools and systems that are intelligent enough that would try and imitate to a certain extent what we do, particularly in terms of solving problems and decision making and things like that. So if we focus on machine learning particularly, so machine learning is sort of the sub area where we try to look at large volumes of data and try to learn something from it. In other words, maybe write or design a computer program that can, access large amounts of data and then try to learn something interesting, some pattern, something useful from it, and then use that and apply it in a problem-solving context, right? And so it has sort of a connection with data science, right? And so like we mentioned before, we are collecting data, like crazy, right? And so we can use machine learning to actually look at that data and build some applications that can be used to gain competitive advantage, become more efficient, or be able to predict things, and so on and so forth, right? And so that's in a nutshell what machine learning is all about, right? And so there are lots of applications of machine learning, that we see in everyday life, like for example, speech recognition, a lot of good applications, like Siri and voice recognition, voice synthesis, and so on and so forth, right? So that's one particular application of machine learning area. Text analytics, sentiment analysis, looking at reviews, and then anytime we want to buy something online, what do? We just look at reviews, right, and then sort of use that to kind of make our decision. And so sentiment analysis is a big area that machine learning gets used in. Customer service, right, and so chatbots, question answering systems. Computer vision, for example, so lots of applications in the healthcare domain, right? So looking at CT scans or MRI images and then trying to kind of come up with some diagnosis. Actually, we have built very, very sophisticated, very efficient machine learning algorithms that it actually even does a little bit better than humans. Looking at CAT scan or MRI images and be able to isolate malignant cells, for example. So these algorithms have gotten so good and very efficient, and so lots of applications like that. Recommender systems, right? So you go to Amazon or any website, they try to sell you all kinds of stuff, right? So recommender systems, right? In the financial sector, AI gets used very heavily in automated trading, right? And so fintech is a very big area that's coming up in cryptocurrencies and all that good stuff. So there's lots and lots of applications of machine learning in everyday life that we start to see.
And that's what makes it so much more of an attractive subfield to dive into for someone that is a student or someone that is in the industry but wants to retrain and refocus on something else, because this is something that's of growing use across fields. You talk about the financial sector, you talk about just basic data analytics, you talk about public health and personal health and all of that, and certainly data analytics has become huge in sports and athletics in the recent years as well. So this is an 8-week program, 64 hours, where you're going through the fundamentals of AI and of data and of machine learning to provide just a more of a basic overview of what skills are needed to go into this industry. Can people within that program, are they going to have an opportunity to have more of a hyper focus if they're looking to go into fintech, or if they're looking to go into health data management and analytics? So they're going to be able to have more focuses, or is this more of just a broad scope that gives them the basic skills to focus on these subsets afterward?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. So this program is sort of the very first step, if you will, to kind of get into this machine learning area, AI area, right? And so the program is divided into 3 modules, if you will. So we start off with sort of the first module, the first week, we get kind of, discussion going in terms of, what is AI, what is ML, what's sort of the bigger picture, what are the tools and techniques and things like that, right? And so once we get through the initial discussion, we then start to look at specific tools, like, what are the programming languages that get typically used in machine learning, right? And so we will kind of spend some time talking about Python programming, for example. So there are lots of platforms that are available for doing AI and machine learning kind of work. So one platform, for example, or one tool that gets used heavily in the industry is TensorFlow. And so we look at TensorFlow and Keras and how do we build simple machine learning models. And so sort of get through the mechanics of some programming and some basic concepts. Then in the module 2, we spend about 4 weeks diving a little bit deeper into what are some standard machine learning models, right? So how do we get data, and how do we build these machine learning models? How do we train them? How do we deploy them? And so we talk about the entire life cycle of these machine learning models and applications. So that's sort of the middle part. And then the tail end of it is, industry focus. And so we spent about 3 weeks kind of diving into specific industries. And so students can pick and choose what industry that they want to focus on. So, we have retail focus, healthcare focus, financial service focus, manufacturing, industry 4.0 kind of a focus. And so we spend about 3 weeks looking at more sophisticated models specific to each of these application areas, and then also do a big project at the end. And so people can come in from any sector that they are in currently, right? So they may want to stick within that domain if they want to, or if they want to kind of transition over to some other domain, they could also do that as well. But the broader idea is students would do a lot of hands-on work, and they will also do a big project at the end that will kind of help them to put into practice everything that they have learned during the program.
We're joined by Dr. Vijay Sagamoran. He's a distinguished professor of Management Information Systems and the chair of the Department of Decision and Information Sciences at the School of Business Administration at Oakland University. They have a new program, a new certificate program in data analytics and machine learning. It's an 8-week, 64-hour program that is going into place. And you'll be teaching this certificate program, Doctor, with Naresh Jasatani, who works for Google Detroit's offices. How important is it when you're teaching a course like this for something that can be as complicated as data analytics and machine learning to partner with someone who is in the industry and has experience with a major company that is using data analytics and machine learning on a very broad scope?
Yes, exactly. So we are very happy to partner with Google on this project, and actually we have been working with Google even before this came about. And so, I teach a course in deep learning and text analytics. I teach a course on advanced database and big data management. And so Naresh has been a wonderful colleague. So I have interacted with him, and so he has given guest lecture in my classes and things. And so they have also hired interns from our programs. And so we have a little bit of a history. And so we were kind of, trying to figure out what else can we do. And so since Google is a major player within the AI field, they offer, obviously, TensorFlow is from Google, and they also provide Google Cloud Platform, Google Colab notebooks, and of late they also offer Vertex AI, which is a big end-to-end AI solution stack, right? And so we thought that it'll be very good to expose the participants in this program to all of these latest tools that are available. And Google also makes available lots of free content in terms of material for students. And so we will be making use of a lot of that, and also walking people through the entire life cycle of machine learning and AI projects. A lot of times, there are, obviously a number of programs and content available on the web, but, what we try to distinguish our program is, exposing the students to the entire life cycle, not just building machine learning models. That's just sort of, half the story, right? And so all of these models need to be put into production, put into operation. We need to manage them. How do you deploy these models into production? How do you monitor them? When do you say, well, we got to start over, or how do I fix models on the fly, right? And so there are a lot of intricacies that need to be kind of learned. So in data science, we focus more on just the front end of it. How do I build good models and then train them? But then the second half is the deployment and putting it into production. And so we focus on the entire life cycle as not just the front end. And so that's one thing that Google would be very valuable. So if you say, well, I have experience using Vertex AI in developing an end-to-end AI solution, employers would take note of that.
Dr. Vijay Sagamoran joins us on the MegaCast. He is a distinguished professor in the School of Business Administration at Oakland University. And Doctor, just another minute or two with us before we say goodbye today. If people want to find more information on this program, or they're interested in joining this 8-week certification program, how can they get more information? When is it going to be available for Oakland University students?
So the main website for this program is oakland.edu/PACE, P-A-C-E, Professional and Continuing Education. So that's what that acronym stands for. So if you go to the PACE webpage, under engineering, you will see a link for machine learning ops course. And so that's the course where people can get some information about the program, about the content, and then you can also register for the program. Tentatively, we are, planning for an October start, early October, and hopefully we will have enough participants that we can start. And so that's sort of the plan as of now. So they can reach out to me, Sugumara at oakland.edu, or contact PACE for more information as well. One other thing that I quickly wanted to mention was, so this is sort of the starting point, if you will. And so if people are interested in continuing this journey, within my department, we also offer a graduate certificate in business analytics. That's like a 5-course, 15-credit program. That would be a natural kind of a next step. And then we also offer a complete master's program in business analytics. So that's a 30-credit, 10-course program as well. So this is sort of like a step-by-step progression, right? And so maybe you start with this PACE course, get your feet wet, and you think, oh yeah, this is cool stuff, I want to do a little bit more. Then maybe join the graduate certificate program. That takes you halfway through the master's program. And so once you finish the graduate certificate, all the courses that you take there would count towards the master's program as well. So that's how we set it up. And so, there's sort of a step-by-step progression if anybody wants to kind of go all the way. And as you mentioned, there are lots of jobs, a simple search on the web, you would see in a job for AI, machine learning engineers, and data scientists. They're all kind of related. There's a bit of, a lot of overlap between all of these job definitions, but you got to start somewhere, right? And so if you're a little timid, well, I don't know exactly what this is. If you're a little gun shy, maybe start with this program. You kind of get a little bit of basics, and then you will feel comfortable, confident, and then you can continue on. So that's kind of what OU has to offer in terms of data science and AI programs.